was no galleries or places like that that were showing Indigenous art. You know, people like Benjamin Chichi and Norval Morrisseau and Edna Mantawabi, I think people like that, anyways, they were producing great artwork, but it just wasn't recognized as art. I don't think there was much acknowledgement of Indigenous poets as well. You know, these things weren't good for us, and they weren't good for Canada either. So I'll just say some things about my life, because I do believe that my life experiences is what created me as a poet. We left the reserve in the 1950s. We left Kittikanzibi, that's where I was born, and we went to Pontiac County. Whenever those first few weeks in the town in Pontiac County, you know, we weren't exactly welcomed with open arms. There was, you know, some people came at night and they told us to go back where we came from. Even though where we were living was where Algonquins had been living for many, many thousands of years, but these people told us to go back where we came from. And, you know, this was not an act of love. It was like an act that they despised us for some reason. Maybe they outright hated us, and they didn't want us living in their town. I know that for myself, you know, I'm holding this tobacco there now, and I thank the presenters for giving it to me. I've never hated anyone in my life. It's just something I'm not capable of, honestly. Hate to me doesn't make any sense. You know, if it made a little bit of sense, maybe I'd hate somebody. But hate does not make any sense. Hate is destructive. It destroys the potential of a human being to be a better human being. It destroys the potential of a city to be a greater city, or a province to be a greater province, or a country to be a greater country. That's what hate does, and I reject hatred. I renounce it, and I'll speak against hatred at any time, any place. I'll debate. If somebody thinks that hate makes sense, I'd like to debate that person at a place where they wish, at a time that they want. I'd gladly debate it with anybody. So my life's memories begin with Dad. I know that at 10 years old, I didn't know that there was a word called racism. That wasn't a word that was around in 1960 when I was 10 years old. But I knew that I was being singled out because I was an Algonquin. It was clear in the schoolyard. It was even clear by some of the school teachers. So I knew at 10 years old that I was being singled out because I was an Algonquin, and I didn't know how to react to it. I protested it, and the only way a 10-year-old can protest such a thing is with anger and rage and violence. So I was in a lot of trouble in the schoolyard with fistfights, starting at 10 years old. That's just the way it was. By the time I was 15, I started to drink alcohol, and by the time I was 17, I was a full-blown alcoholic. But I went into the bricklaying trade at 17, and I worked at bricklaying and stonemason for quite a few years in the city here. I guess some people in the audience here probably know where the YMWCA building is, but I laid the last brick on the west wall of it. And I remember the day that the two older bricklayers I was working with, they said, let's let the apprentice lay the last brick. And I said, why would I want to do it? And they said, well, you'll always be able to say that you laid the last brick on the YMWCA building. So I did. But you know what? If I wouldn't have did it, somebody else would have, and they would have did it just as good as me. Albert Dumont was not born to lay the last brick on the YMWCA building. You know, I believe in purpose of life, but that wasn't my purpose of life. But having said that, I hardly drive by there going east, and I don't look at the building and remember that I laid the last brick on the west wall of it. So when I was 17, I went into bricklaying, and I was an apprentice, a second-year apprentice on the YMCA building. When I was 19, I had my first experience in a sexual relationship. I was 19, and the lady that, let's say, got involved with me she said she was 39, but I'm pretty sure she was more like 45. Anyways, we had, it was something of my life, that's just the way it was. I think I was an immature 19-year-old, and this lady owned a hotel in Pontiac County, and she asked me to work for her. And at first I said no, because it was